I was just telling Leslie that I competed in this tournament in Singapore last weekend, right? And it was an invitational tournament. So when I posted like the pick on, I won gold, right? And I posted the pick on Facebook, and everyone's like, "Oh man, awesome! Oh dude, great job!" Like it was this big deal. But the truth is that like I fought tougher guys in little no-name bullshit tournaments that didn't have invitational in the title, and nobody gave a shit. And it's just that perception, and even if people sort of realize that that's the case, they still sort of let themselves get carried away with the appearance of the situation and not the actual essence of what it is and the truth of it.
That's a huge aspect of persuasion and philosophies behind, especially persuasion as well. And
I haven't read that yet. Is that good?
I haven't read all of it either. I've read a little bit of it, but I've actually been reading lately quite a lot of Andre Chaperon.
Okay.
And Russell's new books. And I'm amazed. I've picked up Andre Chaperon's stuff so many times to read it, to go through it. And I've only ever got a little bit of a way through it. And this last weekend that went by, got his sphere of influence, and I've had autoresponder madness for ages. And I went right through his sphere of influence thing, which is like, it's not huge. If it was a book, it'd probably be 60 pages. Man, just some of the best stuff I've ever read on pre-selling and persuasion.
Really?
Which made me go and then pick up, not buy, but reopen autoresponder madness, and finally push past the starting stuff, which is all about avatar and all that sort of stuff, and actually get into how a soap opera sequence is really done and the elements of them. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. Like, now I can see why email is not working for so many people. Like, it's not even that hard. It's a little bit hard, but you can just see the thought that has to go into having this really interesting, exciting story that is weaved all the way through your emails. And then obviously every recommendation that you make is a recommendation for a product based on an experience that you had and a story that you've told and some great result that you got that's funny and cliffhanger-like and, attractive. And as not happened to also stumble across a interview that Todd Brown was doing, and he was talking about how he was, Todd Brown, right?
No.
From the six-figure funnel guy.
Okay.
Works for Rich Sheffrin. Anyway, he's huge, massive numbers, all that sort of stuff. He's one of the big boys. But he was talking about how he was really all the stops to try and win this prize in an affiliate competition, which was first place. It was Brian Moran's get that he was trying to win it in. And all the time, like, you could just always see, like, somehow Andre Chaperon was saying, like, just above him. And he goes, I was pulling out my credit card and just whacked any paid traffic on there. I don't care. He just went insane to try and win this prize, which I think wasn't even that great. It was just a scooter or something. And he was just like dinging Facebook traffic and native traffic and AdWords traffic, anything to try and catch up. And like the Brian Moran kept saying, "You're close, man. You're close. Like, just keep going." And then like at 2 hours before the launch closed up, Brian was like, "Man, look, we're fucking near." He's like, he's miles out, and like, you wouldn't think that. And it just really made me realize, like, just how powerful. And he hadn't been doing any paid traffic, much smaller lists, just because of this relationship that he's got with the list, because of this style of writing emails. And I was like, fuck, this is interesting stuff.
Yeah, I think Russell Brunson mentioned that he got the whole soap opera sequence from Andre Chaperon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but yeah, he did. So yeah, Andre calls it the soap opera. They both call it the soap opera sequence, don't they? Yeah.
And it's interesting too that you mentioned like how he writes it in a very particular fashion, and that is what makes it effective, obviously, because he's tested it over the years and he's learned from a lot of people who came before him and did the trial and error. And I was really like staggered by the fact that in Expert Secrets, for example, the perfect webinar, but really every aspect of the book, every aspect of his process is very algorithmic. It's like, do this, don't do it any other way, and do it in this order, and make sure that this is there, and make sure that this isn't missing this element, and just make sure that every freaking thing is exactly what I'm telling you, because what I'm telling you is proven and it works, and it's been like, road tested. And if you try to improvise, it's not going to work. Or if you don't follow what I'm telling you, which I've spent like millions of dollars developing and learning from other people who've done it before me, it's not going to work. So you got to do the thing that I said to do. And that's like a really interesting thing too, because like I'm sure you've noticed in your business that somebody hires you, right? Somebody hires you for your expertise. They engage you for your expertise. And then what do? They reject your expertise, and then they go on doing the bullshit thing that they were doing, and they go on getting the same results. It's like, all right, well, thanks for your money, and thanks for the slap in my face for not doing what I told you is going to work and what will work. It's like, man, people are crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, that's break out the wallet. I've had a lot of experiences like that, and over the years with different clients and things like that. And now I'm very quite. I don't come across as being firm, but they know they're being directed, and it's like it's my way, and that's it.
Yes.
And I find that with consulting and with helping people in this space, you absolutely have to take that stance. And if you start to sort of deviate away from that stance and let them begin to give you their opinion of the way that marketing or something should be done, you're on a downhill trajectory from that point. It's quite a fine line. You've got to be almost you need to be allowing some input from them, because otherwise they start to feel like you're a dick. But yeah, it's a fine line. But let's go back to this with Russell for a sec. So you've obviously been reading Expert Secrets, have you?
I'm rereading it for the third time, taking notes. It's really dense, actually.
Do you find is it one of the best books you've ever read on this space?
One of the best books that I've ever read. It's so insightful from a psychological perspective, just about selling and closing, and but also it's a blueprint for how to put together a really powerful product, like an information product, and sell it.
Oh man, it's so. For me, it's definitely I would say the best book I've read on marketing, definitely, and might even be close to saying it might be one of the best business books I've ever read.
Yeah.
Just the way he's compiled it, and the psychological knowledge that's behind the marketing and everything, and just every single chapter's got like a stack of epiphanies, at least one big one and usually a couple of small ones. And that whole chapter, I think it's the perfect webinar, or it's the perfect webinar, the epiphany bridges, and that stuff, where it goes into the fact that webinar should not be content. It
shouldn't be teaching.
It's about it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be teaching. Yeah, it's about telling these stories that break down the limiting beliefs.
Correct.
And create the epiphanies, the realizations for the audience. And the biggest realization for me was that you've actually done them a bigger favor by giving them those realizations than if you taught, because you allow a breakthrough to happen and allow them to move forward. Whereas if you just teach more content, they've just got more content that they're still stuck in the same limiting beliefs that they can't move forward on. That was like, boom, that was huge.
Well, that really circles back to what we just talked about, which is that you're not doing anybody any favors by not telling them the thing that they need to do, kind of thing. And it's like, look, you need this thing, you need the system, whatever. You need to invest in yourself, knowing, meanwhile, that if, like, when you spend money on something, that of course you're going to be more accountable. You're going to have that fear of missing out, or that fear of like all of that money going to waste, and it's more likely that you'll actually like make use of it. And it's interesting because you can give somebody amazing advice, but if they think you're a nobody, they'll reject it. But if you are positioned as an expert, and you have all this social proof and the authority and all of the psychological persuasion stuff happening, they'll open up their ears to you, and that's a really amazing thing.
Yeah, it's a totally amazing thing. Yeah, so you're obviously on your third read now. That's freaking awesome. Yeah, it's one of those books where I've decided to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to read this book 3 or 4 times. I'm going to write systems out of it, and yeah, really implement it, execute it across the board.
Yeah, what are you going to use it for? Are you going to use it for your digital agency, or are you going to make an info product? Or
So first, we're going to test it on what we're doing for services. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, you know that you obviously came over to me to Frank's big, super high end mastermind thing for the funnels component of it. We learned some things from Frank, and then that I went and spent some time at his house, and he gave me this formula that he said, because if you're selling services, that doesn't necessarily work that way. Mm-hmm. You've got to do it like this. Look, that might be the case, but I've just decided I'm going to sort of put a lot of the stuff that I've learned recently out of my mind, with needing to, go through content and then go through 3 videos and go through all this stuff before you get to the webinar, so that you get a show up rate. And I'm going to go back to basics in the sense that that can work, especially if you don't understand copywriting that well. And I'm going to come back to the fact that no, it's about the bloody copy. It's about what it says on the page. It's about the hook being strong enough to make people excited to turn up, and having the actual right persuasion and persuasion in the actual message and the hook and the benefit statements and what they're going to get from actually showing up and keeping that mysterious, and just try to go straight from Facebook ads straight to the webinar. And I'm going to deliver this thing live. I'm going to do it every Wednesday, exactly the way he mentioned that he'd done it for a year. Yep. And I'm just going to keep working on this freaking webinar until we can actually get it converting, because it's just so much work to build these massive, mile-long funnels with all this automation and all this bullshit that takes forever, which, is great, and I get it. But just getting something lean, that's simple, that you can roll out quickly and you can test the shit out of it, and you can keep, and that whole idea of you can get registrations for $3. You can get webinar registrations for $3. You just got to get your page converting right, your ads converting right. You can get a 25% show up rate. You can get a 15% conversion rate. You've just got to friggin' keep working at it until you nail it. It's not going to come easy, and that's the first thing I've decided to just work on that.
Well, that's amazing, bro. And I'll be really interested to sort of mastermind with you on that, because I'm going to be doing the same thing, but I'm going to be doing it for an info product, or maybe even 2 info products. And I was hoping that we would segue into like speaking about hiring, because one of the 2 info products that I want to, I've already started creating. I have like a whole notebook full of stuff. Is about how to wake up early for entrepreneurs. And that's been really interesting from like an expert secrets point of view, because it's really like an exercise in psychology and trying to like understand your market to figure out what your sort of niche is and what your one big domino is. Because if you think about it, most entrepreneurs who are successful, not all, but most, they already realize the benefit of waking up early, and most of them already do it. They don't need to be persuaded. So who does that leave? Well, that leaves like either the people who already know the benefits but just can't like get themselves to wake up early, or just like can't nail that habit, and then the people who have no clue about the benefits. Well, it'll be a lot harder to persuade those people that like, hey, waking up early is actually going to take your shit to the next level, which it absolutely will, versus the people who are like, man, waking up early is a game changer, but I suck at it. And like I posted in the ClickFunnels group and I got a ton of feedback, and in the end it turned out that is who I'm going to target, like the entrepreneurs who know that waking up early is incredibly beneficial, but for whatever variety of reasons they can't or are unwilling or unable to do it. And that's going to be the first info product. And the second one is going to be about hiring in Eastern Europe, because it's been absolutely transformational to our business.
That'll be, I think, yeah, that sounds like it'll be something that could really be a game changer. Yeah, really love the waking up early as well. That's a massive one, and that could get a bit of a cult following as well for sure, or culture.
Culture.
Culture. Ka-chang. Yeah, so yeah, hiring in Eastern Europe, and that's going to be big because a lot of stuff's been covered on the Philippines. Stuff's sort of been covered on India a little bit. Really, if you think about it, the 4-Hour Work Week was a book on hiring at its base level.
Mm-hmm.
It's really sort of what I mean. It's obviously more to it, but at its base level, it was about hiring. So yeah, that's awesome, man. Fantastic. So just quickly before we segue into hiring, what are you looking to execute out of Expert Secrets?
Right. So I think the first thing is going to be, because for the hiring stuff, what I want to do, like per the book, is actually help a few people get results, and then use those results as testimonials. And because the thing is, it's like everybody's business is different. And what works for my business, what has worked for my business, may not necessarily translate. So I want to make sure that it's like really useful across the board to whatever niche that I choose. And I'm sort of leaning towards hiring in Eastern Europe for services-based businesses, because that's what we know, that's what we do. So I don't want to assume that it's going to work for like other types of niches. And then I'm going to do a webinar with that. And then I'm going to do a webinar, teach a masterclass for the waking up early thing. And both of those are going to be initially just geared towards getting people results for free and collecting intel and information and improving this sort of approach. And then once I've sort of gotten some results and gotten deeper into it, then I'll look at actually monetizing it aggressively.
Yeah, I love it, man. Yeah, and actually on that, the first really big promotion that I did online that crushed it as an affiliate was for a product. It was one of John Reese's products called Outsource Force. That's exactly what it was about. But it was about the Philippines. It was all about hiring and outsourcing. This was in I think it was like 2008 or something. Now, I'd done some little things from here and there, but this was when I first started promoting high commission products. Mm-hmm. And we didn't super crush it, but we sold like 9 units of this product that had $1,000 commissions on it. So the ranking websites at the top of page 1 for review and bonus and that sort of strategy. Well before it was sort of way over swamped and crowded. And that absolutely crushed it. That product did something like $3 million in sales. Wow. It's a big space is where I'm getting to, that area.
Absolutely.
And I've never really seen anyone cover Eastern Europe. I don't know why. It seems like like why would you not be covered? Why would someone have not covered that? So I think that's a really good thing to cover, man.
Absolutely. When you worked in your agency before, like in the bigger agency, did you guys hire a lot out of the Philippines and India and stuff? Like, what's your experience been around hiring historically?
Yeah, so should we say just quickly as well, real quick? So really happy that you're doing that, because I was actually just about to enter into a process with my PA, and they're actually in the Philippines. And my current PA used to be Dane Maxwell's PA from the foundation. And they're quite good. They're really good. And we're just actually designing a hiring process to hire properly over there. And we're sort of leveraging off Dane Maxwell's process, off O'Dork's name. Noah
Kagan.
Noah Kagan's process. And, a few other people's vision from Mind Valleys with doing, the video, or first off a big application in the application. Because one thing that was really interesting that they've mentioned as well is if you just give someone a test, what actually happens a lot of the time is they put their best effort into that test. And even sometimes they silence this so that it goes away. and even they'll put their best effort into that test, and even sometimes they will actually get a friend to do the test.
There you go.
So it's not even their work that you're seeing, which is really, really quite interesting, right? And then so you think they've crushed it, you think they've been great, but then as soon as they actually come and start working with you, they can't. They're rubbish. They're like got no communication skills. They're not, telling you what's going on.
There's
They're
a
not
typhoon every day.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's just a big mess every day, right? And you're like, what the hell happened? What you seemed amazing. Who are you? Who was that? So that sort of shit. But obviously, when you get one of the things that they talk about as well is with the application, asking the questions in a certain way where you can look at the psychology underneath the answers. You're really trying to get an understanding for how they process information, how they think. Are they a real team player? Are they a communicator? Are they really like? Is it about more for them than just the money? Because if it's just about the money, they're probably going to be pretty crap and probably going to, get bored pretty quickly. And so this whole range of important questions that you need to ask. And then with the video, so obviously they're making a video of themselves and telling you why you should hire them, what they're going to bring to the organization, what makes them a superstar. Well, first of all, as we both know, immediately, the B's and the C's are going to drop off because they're not going to want to bother with that. It sounds too hard.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Like some might slip through, right?
Like, man, I have so much cool stuff to share with you. Like, just based on what you just said, I think most of that is bullshit. By the way, you have an echo going in the background. I don't know if you're aware.
I think it might be the air conditioning. The air conditioning, perhaps.
The air conditioning.
Let me just quickly finish this. Quickly finish this point.
Sure.
So yeah, and then with the video, right? You're also looking for, did they actually upload it to YouTube and stick a link in, or did they just like send you the file? And then of course, that's just phase one before you even get to the test. So the second part as well is you need to. This is my belief anyway, is that their actual psych profile needs to be a fit to the position, ideally. So I use DISC for that at the moment, which is you've got your drivers, influencers, stables, and criticals. And drivers are like not always, but often quite good for sales, especially a DI. Drivers are, they don't mind upsetting people. They don't mind annoying people. They're really outspoken, opinionated, strong, go get 'em. What would be sometimes considered the very extroverted side, but extroverted with quite a rough edge to it's all about results. The influencer sort of they put a softer edge on that.
Right.
They
Soft
very
skills.
much. Yeah, well, and this is why a DI can be good. So an influencer is usually quite influential, very much care about how people feel, very much care about making sure everybody around them is quite happy and comfortable and understands everything. But they're also usually very charismatic and charming and are very much able to influence. The S is like a stable. They're more about not so much about the details, but about the process, about making sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, that the follow through happens, that the follow up is done. And then a C, the critical. These are the people that are extremely analytical. They keep a lot of notes. They really are very task orientated. They can be they can be very difficult to convince of certain points, and that can actually be a benefit, because they're going to, like, if you've got a DI as a leader, for example, the C will maybe bring the DI back down to earth and make sure they've substantiated their beliefs, substantiated their ideas, substantiated where they're going, and these certain different profiles, and everybody's a mix of all of them, but usually someone's either very strong in one or usually strong in one with quite a lot of another one with a little bit of the others. And these certain profiles usually fit quite well into certain positions. So I always want to know their DISC, if their DISC is you typically suitable to the position. Obviously, you can't only rely on that. It's just a piece of the pie to make sure this is a fit. And then the task, and actually giving some tasks to see if they actually nail the task, they do it quickly, their typing speed, and that's fast, and that sort of thing. And then also, obviously, just the interviews. Do you get on well? Do you like this person? Do you see that there's a synergy? Does it feel like there's, it's going to be strong from that perspective? So it's taken me a long time to actually get to that process. And then I think the final thing I look at is absolutely, does this seem like a slam dunk? Like, does it cost so much to train? It costs so much to rehire, and not just in money, in bloody time, in headache, in frustration. And, can look like on the outside often like the A might be expensive or what have you, but A's aren't expensive because they cover themselves immediately. And, they're all about growth. They're all about doing the right thing. They're all about being amazing. So it's sort of come around to is you absolutely want the A's.
And it's sometimes we can be self-deceptive and convince ourselves that we have an A on board, but really we're explaining away their weaknesses and their faults.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, we could totally deceive ourselves. And again, I think that comes back to the profile as well. So like I'm a DI, and DIs tend to actually see the best in people, they're always wanting to try to make the best out of the situation. They're always wanting to try to make sure everybody's happy. So we can be the biggest at deceiving ourselves as well. And as well as that, entrepreneurs by nature are hopeless romantics. Like they're always trying to see the situation as being the best it can possibly be, and that can lead to bad decisions, and it can lead to not really understanding exactly who's on the team.
Yeah, and I would say that in terms of, you had mentioned earlier that the people that you're looking to hire, sometimes they'll really front load their value proposition. And it's kind of like a really, really attractive woman. Did you see what I just did there with the kind of like? It's kind of like a really attractive woman who you see her, you're like, oh, wow, she's amazing. And you go talk to her, and she's a total bimbo. And I'm not saying that one is necessarily following the other, but, it's like, wow, this woman is stunning. She's got the makeup. She's dressed to the nines. She looks so intimidating even, like you may be scared to go chat with her. And then you go chat with her and you're like, what was I worried about? Like there's nothing going on here. And with hiring, it's very much a similar game. And I think a lot of employers shoot themselves in the foot because what they do is they immediately look to hire for like a full-time or part-time position. And that's kind of where I've departed from the orthodoxy. And I did this out of necessity because it's like you said, it's expensive, right, to bring somebody on. And the thing is with Eastern Europeans or even like Filipinos and Indians, the approach that I've been using successfully is to bring on like a bunch of people, like several people, 3, 4, 5, even more, and give them all like little tasks, right? And so what you're doing is you're doing a few things. Is A, you're not scaring away potential A players who don't want to be saddled with a bunch of like tests and trial, because they don't need that. They already got plenty of work. They already got a good reputation. You need to court them suavely, not the other way around. Like if you hit them with a bunch of tests right off the bat, they're like, man, I don't know this guy. Why is he's coming on kind of strong? He wants to get married and we've just met, And on the other hand, I do understand like, well, you need somebody for a full-time or a part-time position and you need that stability in that role in terms of hours and results. But at the same time, you really expose yourself to a mishire because you're automatically filtering and selecting for people who are going to front load that value proposition. So what you do is you bring on a bunch of people hourly and you just let them duke it out, basically. You just let them compete with one another and you tell them like, hey, look, Boris, like you're competing with Yana and like probably we're only going to hire 1 or 2 people for this actual position in the end. But the cool thing is you get to maintain a contract relationship with that person. So you're building all these little mini relationships that you can cash in on later. Because as work grows, you could be like, hey, Boris, I know you didn't get this part-time position, but actually we have a bunch of contract hourly work opening up now. Would you be interested? And the other thing is that in terms of like Filipinos and Indians versus Eastern Europe, it sounds like all of these processes and the video making and the trials and the assessments, that's all good stuff, but it's kind of like devising the most beautiful, attractive lure to fish in the totally wrong pond. You know, it's like, oh man, you have this amazing lure, but this pond is full of sickly, you know, shrimpy little fish. Like, do you really?
That's actually a really funny analogy to think about.
Do you really want to catch any of these fish? Do you really want to eat any of them? Like, if you do catch one, maybe you'll get lucky and you'll catch like a nice looking fish. But why don't you take that lure, or why don't you even take a shitty lure and go over and fish in this pond full of big juicy carp? And that is the comparison between like Eastern European contractors and Asian contractors. There is a fundamentally different approach to education that takes place in Eastern Europe, and that's taken place for a long time, that produces a different type of mind, and that produces a different type of worker, a worker who takes ownership, who doesn't like disappear for 3 or 4 days and then show up as if like nothing had happened, and you're like, what the fuck, man? Where were you? And they're like, oh yeah, I was in my hometown, my grandma was sick. What happened? Like, we had a deadline and we had this and that, and they're like, oh, my bad. And like, they don't even think it's weird, you know?
Yeah, as if that should be normal, that you just take off because something's happened and you don't tell anyone. Just seems to be like all throughout Southeast Asia, that does seem to be normal. But that said, again, you have found the wrong people. But I guess what we're saying here is, though, that in Eastern Europe, you've got a much greater pool of people where the education system has trained someone to be responsible, to actually produce the best results, to understand that there's deadlines, to understand that there's a commitment, to understand that you've entered into an agreement together to actually achieve some results, and that they need to do their side of the bargain. That's sort of what you're saying, right?
Correct. I'm saying that like there's a work culture in South and Southeast Asia, and there's a culture, like a social culture in South and Southeast Asia. And the culture, in my opinion, is the biggest bottleneck to the progress, to the economic and business progress of the respective countries like Philippines, Thailand, India. And of course, they're all different cultures. You can't really lump them together. But they do share certain qualities. They share the qualities of face, of the maintaining, giving, and losing of face, which means that if your employer says something, you can't argue with them. Or if an employee does a bad job and you call them out on it, especially publicly, then they'll be so mortified that rather than like objectively take your criticism and rise to the occasion and improve, they'll be like, oh man, he made me lose face. Okay, I'll just disappear for a week, or I'll just quit, because it's too mortifying for them. Whereas in Eastern Europe, it's like, hey, Boris, I'm Ukrainian, so I get to be like a little bit unpolitically correct here, but I say, hey Boris, you totally fucked this up, and he'd be like, shit, you're right, you know, and he'll
you're right. Yeah, take it as a like, yeah, sorry, keep going,
yeah, he'll take it as what it is, which is like constructive criticism, and
almost value that he's been called out on something that wasn't done to the right standard, and be happy that he's got someone who's helping him improve, as opposed to go, oh shit, I'm in trouble, I've done something wrong, I've got to go and hide under a rock because my family and the culture and everybody in the city, in the town, is going to know that I've done something wrong and I won't be loved anymore, which is sort of like the deep, like underneath, right in the deep heart of the Asian culture, right?
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
nailed it, bro.
Yeah.
Well, has that been your experience, like hiring in? Just tell me, like maybe a little bit about your experience hiring in. It's been primarily the Philippines, yeah. But I'd also be interested to hear about like hiring via Craigslist and locally in Thailand as well. Just in general experiences.
So I've had such a huge range of experiences. So I've actually been hiring in the Philippines since about 2008 was
Yeah.
when I first started hiring in the Philippines. And my very first experiences in the Philippines were fucking abysmal. Like I was, oh, actually, and even before that, I was actually hiring in India in 2004, I think, in 2004. So
Yeah.
it's actually trying to set up call centers in India to do lead generation
Mm-hmm.
for a supplements product. And I sent over. They had a rep in Australia, and the rep was awesome. Like the rep drove around in a Merc and spoke perfect English, great salesman, awesome, very charming, and I just thought this is going to be awesome. You know, this guy's so good; he must have a great team behind him, etc., etc. And gave him quite a bit of money up front. Put this big box of training materials together and sent it over to India. Super excited to start with, my new appointment setting team
Mm-hmm.
in India that were at a good rate and everything like that. And first day comes around to jump on with these supposed Indian superstar appointment setters. Jump on the phone, talking to this guy. What the fuck is he even saying? Like, I couldn't. His English was so freaking bad. I couldn't. And there was four of them. There was four of them on the team. I couldn't understand what they were saying. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't train them. They hadn't gone through the materials. It had arrived, but they hadn't even looked at it. And I was just like, oh my god, this couldn't be worse. Like this couldn't be any worse than this actually is right now. And so that was the very first experience with outsourcing overseas, actually. And I thought this is just not what it's supposed to be. And then a few years later, started working with the Philippines, and we hired designers. We hired. The first person we hired was a designer,
Mm-hmm.
and that was just like exactly what you just said. They designed something that was quite good. We brought them on board. We critiqued something that we wanted slightly changed, and boom, just disappeared, upset, didn't want to talk to. And we were soft about it. We were careful about it. We were like, what the fuck? What just happened? We brought in a couple of others, and basically, that few developers, different things. That whole experience was just terrible. And then we ended up getting this guy, and again, this is sort of 2008, around 2008. This guy in Hungary. To actually work on our WordPress site. We were doing product launches. We were doing a lot of ClickBank stuff at the time, and this guy was a frigging baller, like just awesome. Like you'd give him a spec, he'd go get get a WordPress site done, get membership sites installed, get wishlist working, plug all the shit in,
Oh man,
give you all these additional recommendations.
sounds like he was really hungry.
He was awesome, man, and he could do design, he could do tech, he could do everything. And then what was really amazing was that we got up to the 11th hour on this big product launch that we put quite a bit of money into, and it turned out, because we'd used the Delivo system. You would have heard of Delivo, right? Okay, so this was a pretty big system back in 2008 for like affiliate stuff and tracking and membership sites and things like this, right? And we realized it didn't integrate. It didn't work. It wasn't going to send everybody their logins. It wasn't going to, and this was 24 hours before opening a cart where we've got people like Matt Basak, Willie Crawford, Andrew X, like all these massive email list guys on ClickBank, all geared up. We've spent big money on a JV broker. We've built relationships with these people. We've got them excited. We've spent big money on the best copywriters to put all this stuff together. And it's 24 hours from launch and everything's wrong. The whole freaking system's set up wrong. It's not going to work. And this guy from Hungary stayed awake for 24 hours. We stayed awake as well. We'd already my business partner had just gone to sleep. We'd already been awake for like a day and a night. He just been asleep for 2 hours. I hadn't gone to sleep yet because I was just had this funny feeling. And then I realized why I got this funny feeling, what's wrong. Fucking wake him up, call the guy in Hungary. He's luckily still awake. We stay awake for a whole another 24 hours and rebuild a system that took us like 3 weeks or 4 weeks to get right anyway within 24 hours, and launch this bloody product with a working system. And that was the difference, I think, at that time of realizing between Eastern Europe and stinking, other parts of the world. But of late, and I won't jump straight into of late, but I've had much better experiences with the Philippines. But let's just see what are your thoughts after sort of hearing all that?
Yeah, well, that's really interesting.
Oh man, yeah, it was and there were other people.
But that's that ownership.
It's taking ownership of it.
That's that sense of ownership that you don't really get in Asia. Things are kind of superficial here, and you know what? That's part of the charm. So it's like, let's be clear and say that we're not saying anything derogatory about any of these people or countries. I want that to be very clear. What we're doing is we're calling a spade. Okay, like objectively, you have to be realistic and say that, look, man, like hiring experiences from certain countries are better than others for whatever reasons. That's just what it is. But yeah, I mean, my experience with Eastern European contractors has been almost uniformly positive. And of course, there's like lazy people there, and like for example, when we were hiring for our systems administrator, which is a part-time position, I did create a trial and I created an assessment. Actually, the assessment was first, right? And it was intentionally like convoluted because I wanted to really try to trip them up and see how they handle it. And so I started out with like a pool of like 20 candidates, and I said, hey guys, okay, here's an assessment. Well, that left like 3 who actually took the assessment, or like 5 who actually took the assessment, because it immediately filters out the people who don't want to be bothered for whatever reason. Doesn't mean they're not A players, but maybe they just don't want that commitment, that level of commitment. All right, cool. So 5 of those people took the assessment. 3 of them did a decent enough job, so 2 got filtered out. And then of the 3, I gave them all a paid trial. So I basically just gave them hourly work that was more or less similar, because you don't want to give dissimilar work where you'll get like, it'll be hard to gauge the results against each other, right? They have to be somewhat the same. And one guy from Albania, who turned out to be our sysadmin, Clevin, was a standout, and he communicated really well. He got the best speed optimization results. He had the best attention to detail, and he was keen. Like, I could tell he was keen. And so we brought him on part-time. And the only reason that we put these guys through these like assessments and stuff is because we knew we needed a part-time position. So we knew we needed to filter for somebody who was willing to do a little extra work up front in order to secure a more long-term position. Okay, that was sort of the trade-off. And but the other people that we were in touch with, we still kept contract relationships with them, and I did wind up engaging one of those guys on an hourly basis, and he does great work.
Yeah.
You see, so it's a really cool kind of like a real ginger approach that doesn't waste a lot of time and money. And like I said, we did it out of necessity because it's expensive to bring somebody on and give them a salary straight away. Whereas if you just pay them hourly initially, you can suss them out. And if they're good, you can make them an offer. And if they're not, you could say, well, hey, it's not working out, but maybe you want to keep our hourly contract open and we'll give you some other types of work that may be more suited to their skill set. Because again, it's like the right people on the bus and then the right people in the right places on the bus.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so true. That's a really good way of doing things as well, starting off with that hourly work and not sort of committing to a marriage first, just sort of dating for a while, essentially, especially with technical work, because there's such a massive like cavern of or gap, or not really necessarily gap. That's not really the right way of saying it. It's such a massive expanse of skill sets from like, early stages to super advanced.
Yeah.
And often people in the early stages think they're quite advanced, and they believe that, and that's just because there's nothing wrong with that. They just haven't had the time to realize that they're not yet. That's fine. That's part of growing, right? We always, it's sort of can be part of human nature. So that hourly work, that's a really good idea, man. I really like that. Just to quickly go into a little bit of what you touched on before of recent. So I absolutely agree. This is not saying anything about Indian people or Filipino people or anything like that. There are absolute ballers in India. There are people that are so bloody good. There are people that easily charge $10,000 a month for their consulting and their services because they're that good. There's a little bit of a talent drain happened there because their best talent has obviously been sucked out by the big companies like
Silicon Valley,
etc.
Everything
like that, definitely. And it's the same with the Philippines, without a shadow of a doubt. There, it's freaking amazing people there, and of late, I'm talking the last sort of 3 to 5 years, and well, even a little bit more than that, but mainly the last 3 to 5 years, I've been going about hiring there in a bit of a different way. I've actually used some screening through a recruitment agent. And that recruitment agent has a lot of experience in the Philippines, and we're paying a premium for the people that we're hiring, and it's been exponentially better than what I've experienced in the past, in terms of that they actually do know what they're doing to a certain degree. They do get on with it. They can work autonomously. There's still been some problems with communication and that sort of thing, and really exceptional quality with double checking what they've done and that, but they can handle being told to review it. They can handle discussing it. They're a different level, and I know there are even levels above that as well.
So these are B players, you reckon?
Yeah, probably. Something like that, yeah.
Well, if you have to think about it, then
C plus is what came to my gut. Yeah.
Okay.
They're good at what they do. They're nowhere near like the best. But with the right help and support, and that's a big part of it as well. You can't only, sometimes it is definitely them. Like it's them. Like be bloody clear about it. They're just wrong. We've got to look at ourselves as well, in the indoctrination process and the support process and the coaching process, and making their job clear, making the task list clear, helping them understand exactly what it is that they need to do. And that's one thing that I've learned with Filipinos as well. They're excellent at following if they're the right person, again, at following a process that's very clearly documented and outlined, and they will learn it and they'll get good at it. One thing I've found, unless again you've found that special person, but typically this is the typical scenario, that they're not, as unlike Eastern Europe, they're not going to think about the process. They're not going to think about ways to improve it. They're not going to think about ways to make it better. They're just going to do what it is. Whereas in Eastern Europe, as you've maybe got even more experience with than me, they will work out how to make it better. They'll work out how to improve it. They'll come to you with ideas to make this better. And that's what to hear, like really top CEOs talking about their board. Like if someone in a key seat in their board, so if they're looking at their chief marketing officer and they have a better idea than their chief marketing officer, there's something wrong. Chief marketing officer needs to be better at marketing than the CEO. Otherwise, they shouldn't be in the seat. So that's why you need. That's why what's good about Eastern Europeans is you might still, and it's okay when you've got a smaller business, to be better at stuff than your team. You're not at that big level with this big board and these C-suite people. That's not what you are. But at least they're coming to you with ideas and different ways to improve and help the team and you and them and everybody grow and improve. And that's what you need, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And even on a small scale, I would say that with with our hosting business, I'm not a systems administrator. I'm not a web developer. I don't know like all the server stuff. And knowing that you don't know something, you know that you need an expert in that seat. And since you don't know that area, it's kind of hard to judge the level of expertise. But you can sort of tell if you're like a reasonably intelligent guy who knows their business and who doesn't. And the first guy that we brought on for that position was an hourly guy who was Indian and who was an absolute rock star, Udit. And we still have like a relationship, and he kind of moved on because he got a little bit bored because he's an entrepreneur at heart as well. So he wanted to do his own thing, which it's all good because he basically helped us write all our procedures and create the foundation of our processes in our business. But when he talked to me about that sysadmin stuff, it was like I didn't understand what he was talking about. And I'm a reasonably technical guy, but that's a whole different galaxy full of shit that I don't know about. And so even at our small stage, in order to grow, we need competent people doing that technical work. So, that's why I say that like I'm really ginger about bringing on people and start them hourly, because I want to make sure that they don't mess anything up, because if they do, it means that like a customer's website goes down, or their email stops working, or something quite mission critical. And some of these customers are doing, like one of our customers is a hotel, a big hostel chain in Southeast Asia. Man, they're doing thousands of uniques a day, and all of their booking pretty much happens online. We can't afford for their website to go down, and we make like one little tiny mistake, we minify the wrong script, and then like the booking form disappears, and then they're like calling us and like emailing us and like, and it's like we need to be on top of that kind of stuff. So we need somebody with expertise who knows what they know, and that like knows that like, hey, if you make this change, well, potentially it can have such, all of these ramifications, and they need to have the experience to judge that. And there's no way that I could know that stuff ahead of time. So I would say that even in a small stage, it's really important to hire competent people. And especially like in terms of technical positions, I wouldn't dream of hiring outside of Eastern Europe, unless you're hiring in the West, but then you lose the value, because in the West, people are really expensive and they're not necessarily that amazing just because they're from the West at all.
Often not. Yeah. And of course, again, there is like, I would absolutely agree that, and this is a bit of a how long's a piece of string sort of a statement, but I don't know that the Western mind is the best technical mind. I think that the Western mind is often better at sometimes other things. And now there is, of course, plenty that are, but it's just, I would say, the Eastern European mind specifically seems to have there's a much larger pool of people that seem to naturally gravitate towards being good technically.
Agree. I think it has to do with the Soviet education. The former Soviet education was very focused on hard sciences. It was very focused on mathematics, physics, chemistry, and even now, post-Soviet era, a lot of people go to technical school. Like a ton of people, are doing like computer-related stuff, programming, web development. They just have a bent, it seems,
towards that. And that seems to be the case, like obviously not just to the big ones that are well known, obviously Ukraine, Russia, etc., but that also seems to be the same case through Romania, through Hungary, through Poland, it seems to be that whole sort of region, which is really interesting. I think one of the things that might be really good, Vic, is for you to go through for the listeners, your process. What is it that you're actually step by step to work with these superstars in Eastern Europe?
Yeah, well, I'm actually probably about 75-80% done with a post, because I've been having this conversation over and over again with people, and it's been so valuable that I think it's time to share it. And eventually, like, I'll charge for this information and go really in. But on a superficial level, I wanted to put out some really blog content to where you could sort of read it like, okay, I know what to do. Like I could sort of take it from here. But the process that I've been using has been primarily through Upwork. And the reason for that is simply that I've used Upwork. I have a lot of accumulated both as an employer and from way back as a contractor. And it's just a platform that I know. But you could use like Freelancer, you could use rack.eu, which is specific to Eastern Europeans. You could use Codable, which is quite a nice platform as well. But the process is really just basic. It's, let's say, for example, like what position would you like to hire right now? We'll just do a thought experiment.
So right now, actually, we're actually about to start a process, and it's going to be, I think, the
Google
first
AdWords
person where
superstar.
we're looking for someone who's a real Google AdWords superstar.
Like doing your hiring for you. I would first go on Upwork, and then I'd make a job posting, right? And of course, with your job posting, as with anything right online, you want to make the title enticing, use a little bit of your copywriting skills, and you want a job description both like enticing, but not over the top. You know, you want it to actually have some meat, like, well, what's the position really about? You don't want to go too overboard with the copy, right? And so then you select your category, you post your job description, and use hourly, and you select ongoing basis. All right, you're doing this even if you're hiring for like a full-time or part-time position, because again, you want to draw in as candidates as possible, and you don't want to scare away talented people who just, because if you've ever been like a freelancer or a consultant, or even if you just, you know that one of the big benefits of that is that like you can charge hourly and you can decide your level of commitment like pretty much step. Like you work with somebody for an hour and then they're like, can I hire you for another hour? And you're like, yeah, okay. It kind of gets overwhelming and you're like kind of bummed out for whatever reason, or you're not feeling, and then they try to engage you again and you're like, well, no, right now I'm busy. See, that's the freedom that like being a freelancer, being a contractor affords you, is you can decide your commitment at every step. And an in-demand contractor, a talented dude, he values his freedom. That's why he's a freelancer, and that's why he charges what he charges, which is probably like decent, like between 20, 30 bucks an hour, depending on, you know, what position. And so you want to not scare those people away, so you choose it, right? Cool. So now you post your job, and as soon as you've posted your job, you're going to get a list of recommended frees. And what you do is you actually open like all of those in a new tab, and you want to like read through their profile and see like, hey, is he good? Are his skills a fit for looking to do? You have to read through all the reviews, all of them, and look for any red flags. We're hiring for our sysadmin. Of the 3 candidates who are doing the paid trial, one of them seemed to do really good work. And I read through all of his reviews, and then there were like 2 or 3 reviews that like, hey, this guy does really good work, but he had a tendency to disappear unannounced. And I'm like, that's a red flag, because we can't have that schedule. You know, like every Wednesday we do these updates for our customers, and we need somebody who, he doesn't need to be able at the drop of a hat, but if a customer submits a support ticket, you need to field that within 24 hours, which I think is pretty reasonable for people. We don't need to necessarily solve it, but we need to respond quickly and let our customers know that we're there for them and actually be there. Okay, well, as it turns out, this guy did the paid assessment, then he did the paid trial. Then when I gave him some actual work, he did it, disappeared for like 3 days. I followed up, nothing. I followed up, nothing. And eventually he's like, oh yeah, I was, off doing X, Y, Z. Well, okay, cool. He disqualified. So again, not saying he was like a bad one. In this case, we needed reliability more than we needed sheer ability. And we still maintain that relationship, because if we need some like contract work, we say, hey man, like, I know you were busy before, but would you like this? And then you can go on from there, and maybe he'll deliver under those different circumstances that more suit his decision and his circumstances. So then you go ahead and you reach out to all of the different people on your list, and you go through all those recommended freelancers, and you have a conversation with them. You say, hey Boris, and I use this like comically, but like Boris is like generic Eastern European name. And I say, hey Boris, like I saw your profile. I saw you do great work. You have great reviews. Listen, it looks busy. It looks like you're doing good stuff. I posted this job, and I thought maybe you might be interested in taking a look at it. Let me know. So you're starting a conversation. You're starting a relationship on a good note. Once you've reached out to all the rec freelancers, what you're going to do is you're going to actually active search through the Upwork search engine for people who might be a good fit. So let's say that you're looking for like a designer. Okay, cool. So now you're going to search for in the keywords, and then you're going to reach everybody, and you're going to filter by Eastern Europe as the region when you do your search and when you post your job. So big note there, because if you don't, you're like a zillion people like emailing and calling you and applying to your job from countries that you want to hire from. And so then you're going to reach out to these other people who may not have applied to you and may not have been on the recommended freelancers list, but be really good candidates. And I believe that I found Sidman and Clevin with this latter method. Like looking through it, I'm like, oh man, this guy looks really good. His skills are exactly what we need. We needed somebody who was like good at WordPress, good at the server side stuff, and like combine the two really well. We reached out to him, and yada yada yada, he became our and then the final step really is to, if you're hiring for like a full-time position, you want to give them some kind of assessment just to make sure they corrections, and then you want to give them a paid trial and sort of just let them loose. Say like, hey, Boris, listen, this is this is like a paid trial. This is actual work that we do in our business. I'm gonna do some stuff now for a few hours. By the way, we're doing the same deal with a few other Borises. So whichever Boris, emerges, that's the Boris I bring aboard. But if that doesn't work out for whatever reason, I still want to maintain a good relationship with you because we still have plenty. Maybe we could do a contract thing. And everybody always says, cool. Yeah, that sounds good. It's a win-win-win. And that's exactly what I've been doing. And now we have I think almost like a dozen contractors on a rotating basis. Even despite the fact that they're like hourly dudes, they'll take really great ownership. They still have great response times, do great work. And I really haven't had any problems. I mean, part of it is luck, no doubt. But a big part of it, the majority part of it, is that we're fishing in the wrong pond. Yes.
Love it.
Well, I would love to help you with that for free. And if I get you a great result, you can rave about it.
Fishing in the right pond. You're doing your research on the applicants. Really check through their ratings, check their reviews, check through the comments, sending something to them that's personalized to them, and then you've got a very win-win-win, as you called it, sort of communications process to actually make the first contact, and then through the hourly work initially you're able to
maybe you could talk a little bit about
too much of a commitment,
how you actually manage your team,
and you're letting the work speak for itself.
Hiring,
that's brilliant.
Just a little bit about your experience. Also, at the you're location dependent entrepreneur.
Yeah, I'd love to trial that.
Totally lame, bro. But
really interesting to
whatever.
see how that would actually work out for us. Mate, without saying it, I'll rave about it, I'll podcast about it, I'll webinar about it, I'll post on the site about it, email about it. No, definitely. That would be outstanding.
No, that's cool. We've been on for an hour anyway.
Excellent. Is there anything else you think we should cover, or?
Oh, good stuff, man. Yeah, why don't you just leave some closing thoughts in?
Totally lame. We're actually 50-50, but at the moment, yes, I personally am. That's something I really want to work on changing. I'm thinking there's quite a bit to go through on that basis, and I'm wondering if we maybe do a second episode to cover all of that. So I've got a client that I've got to jump onto in about 10 minutes, and I don't want to try and rush through it and not cover it properly for the listeners and for you, your audience. Yeah, yeah, awesome. So yeah, I could briefly sort of cover a bit of it, but I think it might be better to. What do you think? Yeah, so some closing thoughts. Obviously, bringing a team of people on to work with is an absolute must. Working with other people really makes work more enjoyable, of course, especially if you bring in the right people and the right team, and everybody's beating the same drum and excited about the objective that you're working towards, excited about the vision, excited about the mission, etc. And if you can create an environment that is like that, and there's sort of certain rewards for everybody where there's financial benefit, but they also really like the vision and the mission and are excited about where you're going as a team, and everybody works together. That is the best way to really achieve an outstanding vision, to actually achieve the vision, to actually achieve the mission, and go out and really provide some great services to the world, and have a great time, make some great money while you're doing it. But whilst all that stuff's great, getting really clear on what Vic has discussed, what I've discussed,
stuff,
and making sure you do that team selection well. Like it is a team. It's a lot of people have this idea around of sometimes that
I really would like to
understand there's some aspects to it of that.
Absolutely,
you're not going to typically you're not going to go and point out to your mum or your brother or your sister what they're doing wrong in their life or how they can improve or how to get better. A team, like a superstar sports team, a superstar athletic team, is about performance. It's about results. It's about going out there and winning. And I try to make no bones about it that business is a sport. It is a team sport. It is about performance. It is about results. And it is about and definitely the best competition are out there viewing themselves as superstar athletes, and they're out there to win.
I can help you, and then I'm going to actually be in Bangkok in.
You need to recognize that it is a sport, it is a team sport,
so I could actually
and you need to assemble an
what's your timeline
team
looking like
to go out there and compete with the others that are definitely playing to win. And that's what I think is I'd like to leave it on.
Awesome stuff, Josh.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Okay, I just need basically a job description.
Hey,
bro. So
basically job description.
I really would like to help you hire
like anything that you would use in a normal job post. Job description, title.
Mate, really appreciate that.
Maybe some
100%.
compensation.
As I said, just
some
like
idea of
literally
hours
just about
commitment.
To pay the PAs to do some stuff around that area. It was just that the normal
and then maybe
PA
a description of the kind of
they're
that
going to include that.
To be doing.
And for some reason I've been
that's
hesitating on
much it.
I don't know
respond
why
to duties
to actually move forward on it. So yeah, look, if
is it
part-time,
full-time,
like
contract,
you can help me out by doing
etc.
that, and somehow I can support you with this info product and getting that out there. Dude, let's do it. That'd be friggin' amazing.
Okay, well, I can help you remotely, and then I'm gonna actually be in Bangkok in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, so I could actually swing by the office as well.
Okay.
What's your timeline?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
and what I can do also is
get on it pretty soon.
Absolutely. Do you have an Upwork account, or should I use my own Upwork account?
What do you need from me? What do I need to put together to
do you want to forward me the credentials for that as well, and I'll listing for you? And by the way, I'll record the whole process,
write this down.
like just for use in the course if necessary. Well, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I really want to make sure that I get you and some other people basically a really, really higher to where you'll be like, You hit it out of the park for me, bro.
Like
I was
response.
gonna pay these Filipinos, but you convinced me otherwise, and now I have like a fucking rock star on my team handling this shit, bro. That's what I want. So if I can't do that, then I don't. Of course,
Well, I mean, obviously, the idea is for it to move to full time, but I think we can actually start part time. Really, I think I've been bringing full timers on for part time work a lot. So yeah, I think I like the idea of starting hourly, let them do some tasks, and then move to part time, and then once enough work's coming in,
Yeah.
move to full time.
Cool. Okay.
Do you think that
Yeah,
works?
Legend.
I do. Yeah.
All right, brother. I will look for your email and talk to you soon. See you, bro.
Yeah. Absolutely, that'd be fine. So, what do you want me to do on the side of helping you get the course out there? How can I help with that? Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, man. Yeah, no. I think that course, if you can do that'd be like you can nail it definitely. And I think you mentioned at the beginning masterminding around that webinar process. I think that's another area where we can get that really cranking and on both sides work like mastermind on that too. Yeah, sick man. Yeah, legend. Appreciate it. Bang it up. Mate. Good stuff, Vikos. That's what legend, bro. Talk to you soon. Yep. Thanks, man.